Have you ever like wondered if intelligence, could actually exist beyond brains? I mean, what if our whole way of thinking about thinking is, way too narrow?
Right.
Well, today we're going deep diving into some really fascinating research by Dr. Michael Levin.
Yeah.
It's a biologist who's really, turning heads, I think, by exploring intelligence in some really unexpected places.
What's so fascinating about Dr. Levin's work is that he's really looking at intelligence at the cellular level.
Okay.
He's asking, can single cells or even like groups of cells actually make decisions? Can they solve problems?
Oh.
And like his research seems to suggest that they can.
I am so intrigued right now.
Yeah.
So how in the world do you even begin to study something like that?
Well, one of the creatures that he studies are these like really amazing little guys called planaria. They're flatworms with this almost unbelievable ability to regenerate.
Really?
You can cut a planaria into pieces.
Oh, wow.
And each piece can actually rebuild itself into a whole new worm.
Wow.
It's like something straight out of science fiction.
That is wild.
Yeah.
That is absolutely wild.
Yeah.
But how does that equate to intelligence, though?
Right.
I mean, are they not just following, like, their genetic programming?
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Their genomes, their genetic blueprints are actually really messy.
Yeah.
They've evolved to be incredibly adaptable and resilient because they've had to develop all these sophisticated ways to fix problems and overcome these genetic imperfections.
So it's like instead of passing down better genes, evolution is pushing for better problem solving.
Yes.
At like the most fundamental level.
Exactly. Dr. Levin actually calls this the intelligence ratchet. So think about it this way.
Okay.
Imagine if our bodies could actually learn and adapt like those worms, constantly improving their own self-repair mechanisms.
Right.
We could potentially see these incredible breakthroughs in healing, in longevity, even in like the way that we approach prosthetics.
Right. Now I'm really starting to see like the potential of this. 'Cause
Yeah.
This isn't just about some, cool worms.
Yeah.
This is about like redefining what we even think of as intelligence.
Yeah.
And how that understanding could revolutionize fields like medicine and technology. I mean, this is a real, what does this all mean moment for me.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Wow.
When we actually start thinking about intelligence this way as something that's not limited to brains, it opens up this whole new world of possibilities. When we talk about, intelligence expanding beyond brains, like it's easy to kind of get carried away.
Oh, yeah.
We're in like a science fiction world, right?
Totally. I'm picturing robots rising up spaceships. But like, seriously,
Right.
how does this view of intelligence connect to the bigger picture of AI? The future.
Well, the future of AI is exactly what Dr. Levin's work, I think, encourages us to rethink.
Okay.
He says that, like, we're on the cusp of not just one type of AI, but like a whole spectrum of intelligences.
Diverse intelligences.
Yeah.
Okay, now you've got my attention.
Yeah.
So it's not just about like us versus the machines, humans competing with AI.
Right. That's the old way of thinking.
Okay.
He suggests that we need to like ditch that binary altogether. Think about it.
Okay.
We're already integrating technology into our bodies and our lives in ways that would have seemed like science fiction a few decades ago.
Yeah, you're right. We've got, prosthetic limbs that are controlled by thought.
Right.
We have implants that can like enhance our senses.
Exactly. And that's just the beginning.
Wow.
Dr. Levin paints this picture of a future where those lines between human and machine, they become increasingly blurred.
Yeah.
A future that's populated by, cyborgs, bioengineered beings, hybrids, you name it.
Okay, I gotta admit, part of me is like, sign me up for those enhanced senses.
Sure.
But like another part of me is wondering,
Yeah.
what does it even mean to be human
Right.
in that kind of future?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And Dr. Levin doesn't shy away from the fact that all of our old categories are going to be challenged.
Right.
He uses this great analogy.
Okay.
Imagine trying to explain a smartphone
Okay.
or even the internet to someone from like the 1700s.
Right.
They just wouldn't have the framework to even grasp it.
Totally.
We would appear as some kind of multi-system being to them.
It's a mind-blowing way to think about it.
Yeah.
So we're already those multi-system beings to our ancestors.
And it's only going to accelerate from here.
Wow.
The future is going to be full of beings that just completely defy our current understanding of what's natural
Right.
versus what's artificial.
Right.
So how do we navigate this future ethically?
Right.
That's what we're going to explore next.
So we're talking about this future where the lines between human and machine are getting blurry.
Yeah.
A world that's going to be filled with, all these diverse intelligences
Right.
that really challenge how we define, like, life and consciousness.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, it's exciting.
It is.
But it's also, like, a little bit intimidating.
Sure.
How do we even begin to think about ethics in
Yeah.
this context?
Well, it's a big question, and I think what's so refreshing about Dr. Levin's perspective is that he really doesn't shy away from that ethical dimension.
Okay.
He argues that, like, we shouldn't be afraid of exceeding human limits,
Okay.
but the key is to
Yeah.
make sure that our moral capacity
Right.
is also growing alongside all this technological advancement.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like this call to, pair scientific advancement with ethical evolution.
Totally.
But how do we actually do that, though?
Right.
How do we make sure that our ethics are keeping case with this, like, rapidly evolving world?
Well, Dr. Levin proposes this fascinating concept
Okay.
called the cognitive light cone.
Okay.
And it's not just about intelligence in terms of, like, IQ.
Right.
It's about this capacity to empathize,
Okay.
to understand, to actually consider, like, the perspectives and the needs of others.
It's less about how smart we are
Yeah.
and more about how we choose to treat each other.
Yes.
Even those who are, like, radically different from us.
Exactly. And he uses this really compelling analogy to kind of illustrate this point.
Okay.
Remember that scene in Star Wars with, like, the crowded cantina?
Oh, yeah.
With all those, like, bizarre and, like, diverse alien species?
Yeah.
He suggests that kind of society where those differences are accepted and even, like, celebrated is actually possible.
Yeah.
But it hinges on us having this shared set of values,
Right.
this common ground that can actually unite us even with all of our differences.
What a powerful image.
Yeah.
Finding unity in the midst of, like, incredible diversity.
Right.
It suggests that, a future filled with all these diverse intelligences doesn't have to be like a dystopian nightmare.
Right.
Or it could be a future of collaboration.
Totally.
And, like, real understanding.
Exactly.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like Dr. Levin is optimistic that we actually have the capacity for this kind of radical acceptance.
He is.
He believes that, like, younger generations,
Yeah.
the ones who are growing up immersed in technology, and this interconnectedness are already primed for this future.
Yeah, I think that's a really hopeful note to end on.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
So to our listeners out there, those of you who, like me, are fascinated by these big questions about intelligence technology, the future, we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Are we ready for a future where intelligence comes in, like, countless forms? What kind of world do we want to create with all these new intelligences? It's definitely something to think about, to discuss. And until next time, keep those minds open and keep diving deep.